Namo tassa bhagavatu arahatu samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavatu arahatu samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavatu arahatu samma sambuddhassa. Good morning, everyone, and good evening, everyone. Welcome back to the 8th talk in our mental health awareness series. And today we will be looking at another interesting topic, which we have given earlier. It is bragging, excessive pride, and fixing the insecurity of oversharing. A Buddhist perspective. So fundamentally, it's about what is bragging and what is excessive pride, and how do we fix the insecurity of oversharing? Because the more we share things, then the more we brag about us. Even the topic itself is a bragging at some point. Even telling someone that I'm not bragging can also be a part of bragging. So it's more about how to consciously and morally see the issue called bragging. So bragging simply means boasting, or I would say in more clear terms, it's more about being excessively proud about us, and then boasting about our individual achievements or possessions. So this is fundamentally what you call by bragging. In some cultures, people don't use this word bragging. They might use boasting. They might be using something called vanity, talking things that are frivolous. But anyways, bragging is the most common word that we use for those folks. I mean, including all of us, because we all have a certain degree of bragging. We have to admit that. So in today's talk, we will be looking at what is bragging and how do we brag. What are the reasons behind bragging? At the same time, how do we identify the different kinds of bragging, and how do we overcome bragging in a more practical way? So these are the main things that we will be looking at, but I included another two sections to the topic called excessive pride. We know pride, and the words called pride and proud, they are very, what you call, very prevalent and very they've been used in many societies, among many, but there are different meanings for pride uh, and being proud. So we will be looking at what is excessive pride, and at the same time, where is the fine line that we can make? How we can draw the fine line between what you call bragging and I would say oversharing and sharing. So we would like to share our things, share our views, share our likes and dislikes. So how can we draw that fine line between those two? Okay, so in our society, I would say across the globe, uh, we have this attitude since the early time, that our parents, our teachers, and our preceptors, they normally ask us to keep our glories at least a little bit more to ourselves, because it is a fundamental thing that we learn from our teachers. Because when you are a child, you might probably, when you were a child, you might have probably said about things you have. Nobody might have considered them to be bragging, sort of a, you were a sort of a braggart, someone who has bragging. But as time goes by, when you became a teenager, at that point, I hope that you all got certain uh, advices. I guess some of the you know insights from your parents and old folks, that you have to keep your glories you know to yourself, and you should not brag about different things you have. So it's a very good place to start this discussion. I mean, I don't know, uh, when time goes by, then we look at different ways to see whether we have self-esteem individually. But in case we don't have the certain self-esteem, self-confidence, I would say self-esteem is the most prevalent word, used word, popular word. Then we start to think about what we already have, uh, in regard to what we don't have. So I have to say at the beginning, there are pros and cons of this topic. I mean, we can't say that bragging, even a little bit of bragging, is bad, because I think now in modern times, people like to share what they ate, what they had, what they saw, and their different encounters with different people on social media. And we can say it is bad. It is bragging. It may be some. Kind of a bragging, but on the other hand, I see. I mean, on the surface level, it may be a way how people release kind of a call it like a dopamine hit, kind of a release hit about what they have. In the past, people didn't have this chance and this opportunity. People, they were trying to find different opportunities to say and show what they have. But we also need to look at where is the fine line that I should not cross. That's very interesting. That's why I'm trying to say that we have to look at the both sides of, I mean, pros and cons of bragging. Fundamentally, bragging is not encouraged. It is a discouraged topic. But because it's kind of a dopamine hit, kind of a emotionally released kind of a hit, we also need to look at the positive side of bragging. I mean, I'm not saying that you have to brag, excessively, but if you look at the certain levels of bragging, you may see that probably this might be a good way so that people internalize what they think about them. Anyways, we will take a look at this big topic gradually. So, first of all, what is pride and being proud? Now, pride refers to the satisfaction that an individual gains from something. Now, for instance, if you have something that is really relatively more important than somebody, then you can feel that you have pride. And on the other hand, what is being proud? Proud means the feelings of pride. Now, when you have uh, pride already within you, then the sort of feelings that are emanating, that are arising because of pride, uh, are called to be, elements of being proud. So, pride is the fundamental element, and then being proud. But the problem is when people brag too much, then they are having excessive pride. That is a problem. Okay. Now, I mean, if I share with you kind of an answer from all these aspects, Buddhism and day-to-day life, I would say, even talking about that, I'm not bragging. I'm not actually talking about things that there are people. I mean, don't think I'm actually proud about this particular achievement. Don't think I'm kind of bragging. But please listen to me. This may also kind of refer to a sort of a bragging. It's kind of a that kind of a topic, because the thing is, our feelings of self-esteem and self-confidence rest on being able to take pride in our achievements. So it is such a very subtle kind of a thing. That means Bragging can be visible in any statement because it's fundamentally about us. If you try to showcase you, even from a uh, tiny place, even from a short sentence, but if the way and ways and means how you highlight you and showcase you can tend to create a kind of a bragging. So we have to take extra caution about what is bragging. So I'm telling that we have to see the both sides, the pros and cons. I fundamentally see there is a positive side too, because if people get a chance to in like for example Facebook now, or any other social media. I mean, Facebook is such a very popular, interface for people to share what they have, what they know. Even though people don't like the post, but they simply share it. They simply share what they think, what they believe. Even people don't like it. So I think it's a good thing. I mean, this didn't happen in the past because even people didn't like it. The person who is sharing that has a feeling that I expressed myself. I spoke up. So that is why I'm thinking. Uh, we may have some issues of the contents of what that person is sharing, but all in all, that ability to share what that person believes is a good thing. That is why I believe that this there is a positive side of uh, bragging, in a sense that people are not uh, anymore stuffed, or I would say anymore kind of uh, hiding their true essence of what they believe about different things about life and other people. So you don't need to hide uh, your light completely under a bushel, right? Because you can say what you believe, what you feel, what you think about something, right? So it's kind of an opportunity. As I said, there is always a flip side to any good thing. Now, when it comes to bragging, the flip side is we all need a kind of a self praise, self confidence. If you don't have a self confidence, self praise, that is too bad. I mean, this is what we've been talking about, self compassion, because self compassion will not come to you unless you are happy about who you are and what you've been doing. So, I mean, assuming that they are moral and ethical, they are beneficial to you and to other people. Uh, I think, with all that happening, it is always good to have something for you to be happy and then to achieve certain level of self-esteem, uh, what you call by self-praise. That's why I'm thinking bragging has a sort of a direct link to self-praise or self what you call esteem, which is a pretty big deal in our life. Now, looking at the epistemology of bragging, now there's a question whether something you say about yourself can be verified or not. Now, epistemology is a topic in the ethics. Now, how do we link epistemology to our question today, bragging? Now, in epistemology, you should be able to verify what you say. Now those folks who share things online in whatever their interfaces, they should be able to understand whether I have the supporting evidences for what I share, what I say. Anybody can say I have this and that, I achieve this and that, but how far is that going to be verified? How how many you know um, times that can be verified? I mean, in what context can that be verified? So all these things have to be supported. I mean, all the claims you make. Otherwise, everything you say can be a bragging. On the other hand, bragging, how do we understand bragging? That's a different other problem. Now, a billionaire might be able to say, I'm a billionaire. Simply because he says or she says I'm a billionaire, it might be it might seem looks to you a kind of a bragging, but for him or for her it might not be a bragging, right? For someone who has a Olympic medal might say I won an Olympic medal. I mean, winning out of many competitors, but that might seem to you kind of a bragging because you don't have it. So that's why there's a big question. How do we know that? So the kind of the bragging one person's feels is not the kind of the bragging to the other person. So that's why we had to respect and understand the context contents of what people say. But generally speaking, uh, we should be able to verify everything that we uh, want to share with other people as a claim that I have this thing and I achieved and whatever, everything that you share online or whatever you say. So if we bring the epistemology to bragging, then there should be a way to verify what you say. Now, what is the normal, I would say, the social norm of bragging? Social norm of bragging, as I said earlier, is that we are not encouraged to brag. But still, it happens in different forms. As I said to you earlier, bragging is good in a way, but if you keep it to verifications of what you say, and then you are not harming other people, and then you are, I would say, trying to look at your life in a better way, kind of a more ethical way, it should be fine. That doesn't harm, right, anybody. Because we know there are people who might say that we want to neutralize the act of bragging. Uh, on the other hand, they might talk about kind of a humble brag. There are people, you know, don't think I'm kind of exaggerating. I'm trying to brag about myself, but I want to share with you. Those are kind of like humble braggers in our society. Anyways, so how to understand a brag? I mean, there are three main components for you to understand a bragger. Dumb folks, if you have any questions, please type them in here so I can look at them and answer those questions. So there are three main components of personalities that can be tested on bragging. Number one is social desirability. Now, there are events and things in our life that compel us to brag. Now, if you have an online profile on, I don't want to name any social media interfaces, they kind of compel us to have a sort of a self increasing, I would say, self appreciating profile. Somebody might say that you are a good speaker, you should have a YouTube channel. You are a good, I would say, cook. You should have a kind of a place to showcase what you can cook. You are a, I would say, so and so forth, right? So that means the society, the social desirability can compel us to be people of bragging. This is one big component in our life, in the whole world now. Regardless of how skilled are you, you can't just ignore that. So I'm telling you that you don't have to think that I have to be a part of it, but most of us are being compelled by this social norm, called social desirability, to brag in different degrees. Then overclaiming. This can happen to many. Now, when you share something online, are you really sure that this has been verified? Now, this is why the social media and those interfaces, they have this what do you call the feature called verified. This is a verified profile. I mean, they have changed many things over time. Earlier, you don't need any phone verification. Now they have this phone verification. You can't create accounts just because you want to create many accounts, right? Because this verification is a good thing, because this is something that we learn from Buddhism, right? Buddha always told us to verify his Dhamma, even himself, in the Vimansaka Sutta Majjhima Nikaya. So you have to test, you have to, check with your information whether this is a true claim. And then overconfidence. When people are overconfident, they make false claim and then they become braggers, right? Now, this can happen to some people when they are too much faithful, when they are too much, I would say, favoring somebody, right? Then you are out of your verification process, right? So there are three things that can compel you to be a bragger. Social desirability, which is a big part of our image, you know um, uh, in the world. I would say in your company where you work, in your workplace, right? And then your friends might ask you to, hey, you have to be popular, you need to be a popular guy, otherwise you can forge ahead in this society, right? Even you are a monastic, you might have some compelling uh, you know uh, probably attempts by others. You have to be like this, you have to do this, and you have to do this, you have to reach to many people, right? So social desirability, which has no borders, can actually touch everyone in society. Overclaiming, that means people tend to claim things without verification. So that is what we call by overclaiming, which is pretty bad. You're going to be a liar plus a bragger. And then braggart, don't call them braggart. And overconfidence, when you are too much overwhelmed, and then you're going to uh, be a person who we call by braggart. These are the three fundamental elements we can see in a bragging uh, thing, right? Okay, why do we brag? Now that's a big question. Now we always like to get a pleasure hit, like on the brain, like a dopamine hit by talking about ourselves. It is uh, the norm that we only get a dopamine hit on only when we talk about ourselves. Now we are naturally into a conversation about us. I think there are people who don't like when other people talk about other people. They are achievable, they are actually doing well in their fields. There are many people who can't take that claim, though it is a very true claim. So, generally speaking, a lot of people, they get a pleasure hit on the brain, like a dopamine hit, when they talk about themselves, whether it be a truthful statement or a false statement. This is the fundamental place where we can see kind of a favorable impression through bragging. That is why a lot of people like to brag, because it always involves oneself, right? And it is the easiest way to express about oneself. So it's kind of a dopamine hit on the brain. And also there are other compelling things, as I said earlier. Social media accounts, I mean, they offer infinite number of opportunities for boasting, right? And then ultimately we call it bragging. It's kind of a self promotion, you know. If you are a person who can self promote, now even we take a look at of our CVs and resumes. I'm not taking it in a wrong way. The fundamental idea is you should know how to sell, how best you can sell yourself in your CV. You don't want to write anything unnecessary, right? So you're gonna find the verified, the best stuff that you can sell your skills, that you can showcase your skills. So this way, what do you call this? The idea of you know uh, creating kind of a self promotion within us in the market or on social media, on internet, uh, in the job market, has made us more to the side of bragging. I mean, even though you are talking good things, the verified things, but you are, thinking about, okay, I have this and that, the social hierarchy and all that, right? And also the things like role modeling, things like celebrities and status, and everything that you can see that you which will help you to get a kind of a better impression about you. It might be many other fields. All these things create kind of a situation, kind of an interface framework to brand. So that is kind of a background, uh, you know, uh, knowledge for our question. I have seen there are 7 types of bragging. There are 7 people. I mean, if you can take it as 7, there are 7 types of bragging that I can witness. Number 1, directly drawing attention to your own great personal qualities. Now, this is the least desirable way to brag. But the problem is, uh, this is kind of a daunting thing because you are directly drawing, paying attention to your qualities when you talk to other people. Probably you might say that I have these qualities, and then looking at other people, I'm better than them. This is one kind of a bracket. So, number 1 is directly drawing attention to your own great person. You are very direct about yourself, especially your qualities, your virtues. When you talk to other people, probably when you give a talk, so on and so forth. That's number 1. Number 2 is directly drawing attention to something you have done, probably your accomplishments. Okay, so I mean, we can say you might be a person who has achieved a lot of things in your studies, at work, in your volunteer work, uh, in your country, across the globe, I mean, in the world. So probably you are referring to those actions you have done so that you can showcase other people in a kind of a grand way. So you are drawing attention to something you have done. The first kind of braggart is somebody who is directly drawing attention to his or her personal qualities. Now, here, uh, the same person, or maybe a different person, is trying to draw attention to what he or she has done by ways of actions. Second braggart. The third braggart, or somebody who is bragging, is seen in a way who is indirectly drawing attention to uh, one's great personal qualities. Now, the first kind of bragging is that directly drawing attention to one's qualities. The third one, indirectly showing. There are many ways to showcase that, right? There are people who are trying to find different ways to showcase, brag about oneself. They are not direct. Probably they don't have the self-esteem that much, self-confidence that much. So they're trying to look at each opportunity. This opportunity be something for me to indirectly showcase me? This is the third braggart, I would say, the third person who is bragging. The fourth one is indirectly drawing attention to something you have done. I mean, so the first two, they are directly showing personal qualities and then accomplishment. Third, fourth one, they are indirectly showing one's virtues or good qualities, and then what they have done as the fourth one. That can also happen. That can also be a very visible thing in our societies. People, just take a look. I mean, how much do people try to showcase them in different ways? Some people want to make it in a very manifesting way. Some people want to do it very secretly. And the fifth one is very interesting. Somebody who is, this is kind of a braggart, kind of bragging, drawing attention to your success with a disclaimer. Now, the disclaimer is very interesting. Now, there are people who go this way. I should not blow my own trumpet, but in this case, I had to make this. That's the disclaimer. They say that they know, they're going to say to people, I know this is bragging, but I have to make this statement. That's the disclaimer. So the fifth one is somebody who draws attention to one's success with a disclaimer. Okay. Probably this might be better than the first four, right? Because they are not actually accepting that they have this issue called being a braggart or bragging. But the fifth one at least accepts, in public that, this is bragging, this is kind of boasting, but I have to make it, So that's the fifth one. The sixth one is basking in someone else's reflected glory. This is something very interesting, as just as the previous one, we call it somebody who is to brag with a disclaimer. In here, the sixth one means now there are people who want to take the credit of their grandparents, their parents. Now, probably, your parents, your grandparents, your probably family lineage, your probably country, your probably whatever roots. You can actually bring them to the discussion with somebody, and then insinuately, bring you. I would say connect you to that conversation. Say, my grandparents are like this and that, and your fundamental ulterior motive is to connect you to the conversation. So here, what we understand by basking in someone else's reflected glory means that if you are someone like this, you are trying to bring very famous people in your family lineage or your society, your kind of context situation, and you're gonna kind of like insinuately bring you to their context. So you feel that you are happy because you are bragging that way. Last one, the seventh kind of braggart, I would say the seventh way where how people brag is that reporting on a conversation in which you were present, where the evidence can be verified. Now you are not blowing your own trumpet. You know there was a conversation. There has been a conversation going on, probably on the internet, probably among other people, probably between two people. But in the conversation, regardless of where it happens, you were praised by somebody. Then you are trying to bring evidence which can testify, which can prove that particular claim where you got a lot of popularity. Now this is kind of the only form of self-praise, kind of the bragging that we can moderately accept. So it's kind of it's the only moderately acceptable bragging that we can see, because I mean, we can see there is some fairness in that claim, because it was a truthful thing, because you are verifying that, and you don't talk about you, other people talk about you, and you simply testifying, proving that claim, verifying that claim. Yes, that was me. That's it. I think this is the kind of I would say the least uh, bragging way that we can have in our life. If you look at the Buddha's life, Buddha did the same thing, right? Buddha never showed up, except couple things that showed off. He showed up at some point, like when his relatives didn't accept him, so he had to show some skills. But for the most part, he didn't want to show off. Like, remember the incident where he went to cross a river with other monks. What happened was that before the Buddha, there were some ascetics who had some jhanic powers. So they didn't want the ferryman to fetch them. So they just used their psychic powers to cross the river, right? And then the other monks, they witnessed what they did. They asked Buddha, why don't you do the same thing? Because why do we wait until the ferryman is coming over here to fetch us? Then the Buddha said, wait until the ferryman comes over here. And then when he came over to that side, the Buddha asked him, how much do you charge for someone to uh, bring to the other side, other shore? And he said, kind of a, kind of a fee. And then Buddha said, the sort of psychic activity that those ascetics did to cross over the river is very equal to that particular money. That means Buddha never wanted to show off. So why don't we learn out of him, right? If you are an educated person, if you are a skilled person, if you are a very, I would say, talented person in whatever your capacity be. You may be a manager, you may be an engineer, you may be a doctor, lawyer, whoever. I mean, you may be somebody who is doing other things, but you don't need to prove who you are. Just do your work. The real people will definitely keep an eye on you. They know who you are. That humbleness is something that we really want. That is why we need to talk about this bragging. And this has been a mental issue. There are many people, I think most people, they are really frustrated about they are really stuck, they are really perplexed in their uh, true image. They may be very educated people, but they don't know how to showcase them because they have sort of messed up their lives, screwed up also at some point. That's why we have to be people who can fall into this seventh category. That means you are even not talking about you. In case somebody reports on your success, then only you're going to prove that claim because they wanted to verify. Other than that, you are not saying that I did this, I was like this, and I won this, and I had this much money. You are not talking about that way. So okay, so the seventh one is the least bragging way context. So let's take a look at of those seven types. Number one is directly drawing attention to your own great personal qualities. Second, directly drawing attention to something you have done, accomplished. Third, indirectly drawing attention to your own great personal quality. Indirectly, this is the fourth one. Indirectly drawing attention to something you have done. Number five, drawing attention to your success with a disclaimer. As I said earlier, there are people who make statements like, don't think I'm bragging today, but I have to make this. Maybe don't think that I am trying to blow my trumpet, so and so, but they're going to make that. Those are the people who are trying to draw attention to their success with a disclaimer. Number six, basking in someone else's reflected glory. And they know that they can't directly talk about their accomplishments, their qualities. So they can actually bring somebody and then trying to tap into their success. Probably going to talk about connectedness, these people I studied with them, this guy, who studied there, and I studied with him, and I was with him that time, right? So this is another way of, putting your bragging kind of thinking into the context. Number seven is you are reporting on a conversation in which you were praised, where the evidence can be verified. That's being very humble. I mean, at least this is the only the least bragging context where we should be able to learn and then practice. Okay, I have a question now. Does this mean that we should never tell anyone about anything good that we have done? No. You can share what you have depending on the context, but don't be a bragger saying that I did this thing, I did that thing. Try to be humble, but if you think that you need to say something, you can say, but always keep this to you, keep your glories to you. Try to practice your mindfulness when you talk about you so that you know where to talk, where not to talk, especially about yourself and your achievements. Then let's move on to the fixing the insecurity of oversharing. Now, if you take a look at our social media, I don't want to actually talk too much about it. On a daily basis, how many people sharing what they eat, where they going, even a small thing that they witness, that they notice, they want to share that thing. To me, I don't think it is bad. It is immoral. It is akusala. To my understanding, I feel that they are at least creating kind of a situation for them to be happy. That's a good thing. But if they can try to minimize it to some true events where they are not going to overshare what they have, then that might be nicer. Not that you're going to share everything that you have to share. That we call oversharing. So we need to fix this mentality or the insecurity of oversharing. We don't need to share everything what we have. Probably, this might sort of be frowned upon by some others, because there are different parameters of different people's attitudes about how they want to see what other people share. But if we talk about bragging to an extent where people overshare, then let's be honest, because it doesn't harm anybody, even though you share. They might not even like it, they might only not like it, but other than that, there is nothing wrong. But we should be able to see that whether we are sharing something that we can verify. That is number one. Whether we sharing something not too much, whether this can really make me happy. If these three components are actually met, I hope that that kind of a sharing is bad, because it's good, as I said earlier. Okay, before I jump into the Buddhist perspective, let me look at your questions. Here we have somebody called Sam Ong. Bhante, I have friends who like to name names. Example, they know so and so, or what asset they acquire. What reaction we should cultivate in our heart when we meet people like this? Okay, I have friends who like to name names. Okay, so there are people in our society, not even in your circle, in many of circles we have people, I mean, whom they try to bring a sort of kind of a naming kind of a thing that is going around in their mindsets, because the more you talk about their names, the more you talk about like those bragging types, like the first four bragging types. I mean, definitely these people fall into those four categories. They like, uh, I mean, it's not bad in my understanding, but uh, it can annoy other people. I mean, you might, if you are someone who is very humble, then if you have friends who expect this thing, it might be very irritating to you, annoying to you. Probably you can bring a conversation about being humble, or probably people don't like this is bragging. This is the other problem. Most of the people who brag, they don't even know whether they are bragging or not, right? Probably you can, if you are very close to such people, probably you can strike a conversation about what is bragging. Bragging is not good, in Buddhism, and we're going to be looking at that now, something like that. Other than that, don't try to be angry, because every person practices Dhamma differently. I'm not thinking that, I'm not believing everyone can practice Dhamma in the same, because they have different backgrounds, they come from different sansaric journey. So but we know this is something not necessary, but still they make their claims. Still they expect us to call their names. If you don't like, probably you can keep a distance. If you think you are very close to them, probably you can have a conversation with them, what is bragging and all that, and they will understand this is not something that we expect, right? In Buddhism, we have a lot of things to talk about. Now, one of the two very key terms about being humble and not getting into pride or bragging is that the conversation or teaching about mother. Now, mother means intoxication. According to the Kuddaka Vattu Vibhanga in the Abhidhamma Pitaka, I guess this is in the Vibhanga Pakarana, Buddha mentions 27 types of mothers, intoxications. I mean, I think that these intoxications have created them to brag about themselves. Now, for example, let me share with you these 27 in very short terms. Jati, there are people who have a very good birth. I mean, you can say they were born in different countries, they were born into good families, they might be intoxicated and they might brag about that particular birth, right? Which is not good. It's an intoxication. They are intoxicated. Second, gotta. Gotta means different caste systems, and we don't have really appreciate such things because we have to believe in people's actions. Uh, we should not be intoxicated with whatever those things. Third, arogya. Arogya means health. There may be people who are less ill. Simply because you are less ill or simply because you are not sick, you should never be intoxicated thinking that I will never be sick. Otherwise, it will make you to brag about your health. Yobbana is the fourth one. Yobbana means there may be people, young folks who might think that these folks are actually old folks, so I'm younger than them. So kind of brag about this. This is the Yobbana. The fifth one is a Jivita. Jivita means life. That means there may be people who might be spending a long life. So simply because you are spending a long life, don't ever think that I am better than them, because that might create you kind of an intoxication so that you might, uh, brag. Then labha. Labha means different gains. Simply because you are gaining a lot of things from other people. Never be intoxicated. Sakkara means, other kind of venerations from other people. Simply because you get venerated, don't ever be intoxicated. Garukara. Garukara means what do you call respect. You may be kind of a person who is highly respected, but don't ever be intoxicated because you are respected. Don't brag because of the intoxication. Purekkara is the ninth one. The Purekkara means you may be a person who is highly respected so that you can take the front line of anything. Wherever you go, people respect you. Hey, you had to be the first. But just because you are pushed to that level, never ever be intoxicated and then brag. Parivara. I had to sort of like speed up a little bit. Parivara means it's also a kind of intoxication where you can, brag. Parivara means you may be a person who has a lot of people around you, friends and like strong people who can help you. Simply because you have that, never ever think other people don't have, and then be intoxicated and then to brag. Bhoga means material comforts. Vanna means skin color. Uh, Then Sutta means knowledge, intelligent person. So sorry, learned person. Patibhana means uh, intelligent person. Rathanyu, a person who has been with a certain activity for a long time. Probably you might be, I mean, a senior person in a company. Simply because you are like that, never ever be intoxicated and then brag. Pindapatika means this is kind of relevant to monks and nuns. Just because you are going for Pindapata, never ever condemn and then brag about the people who are not going on Pindapata. Right? See, this is also an intoxication. For those forest monks, those monks who are going Pindapata, never ever brag about what you do, because there may be city monks too who might not going do the same thing. If you do like that, you get a intoxication, and so that you might be bragging. Then anavanyat, that means you may be a person who is not that much insulted by others, despised by others. Simply because you are less or you are zero insulted, never ever think that you are better than other people. So you get, if you think so, you get intoxicated and then you might brag. Iriyapata, that means your postures are really good, other than better than others. Iddhi, you have powers. Yasa, fame. Sila, virtue. Jhana, absorptions. Sippa, knowledge. One more time. Aroha, you are very tall. Parinaha, you are, I would say, you are a full person compared to your height. Santana, you are, texture of your body is so nice, but don't ever be intoxicated saying that other people don't have it, because you might brag. Paripuri, that means your body has no defects. You are out of defects. You are zero defects. Just because you are zero defects, never ever be intoxicated and then brag. See, Buddha clearly mentioned very subtle 27 places, I would say, mothers, intoxications, where people can brag about themselves. See, now if we really understand what they are, what these 27 are, let me tell you again. Jati, Gotta, Arogya, Yobbana, Jivita, Labha, Sakkara, Garukara, Purekkara, Parivar, Bhoga, Vanna, Sutta, Patibhana, Rattanya, Pindapatika, Anavanyata, Iriyapata, Iddhi, Yasa, Sila, Jana, Sippa, Aroha, Parinaha, Santana, Paripura. So these are the 27 intoxications where we may brag because of these. I think a lot of people they brag about these things comparing with other people. This is one good example where Buddha asks us not to brag because intoxications really drive you to bragging. Now, even in the Metta Sutta, we can see there are a lot of teachings, especially the first part of the Metta Sutta, the 15 habits, skillful habits, where we find that we had to be very nipako, right? Right. So where we understand that humbleness, being humble, being modest, right? Because Buddha always taught us, you don't want to waste your time to show off. Always use your time to look at the impermanence, dissatisfaction, and the no ownership of everything. If you really practice these three, anicca, dukkha, anatta, then you will never attach to any of these 27 because all these are attached to the five aggregates. Especially, we call it the five aggregates supported by five clingings called Panchapadanakkanda. So if you are really not looking at Panchapadanakkanda to be Nitya Dukkha Sukha, Nitya Sukha Atta, then definitely you are safe. That means you are never promoting these intoxications. But if you are someone who is always attaching to these, what do you call, Panchapadanakkhandas, five aggregates supported by five clingings, then you will be far more susceptible to bragging because intoxications definitely brag. On the other hand, I also want to mention three more things. I hope that there are no questions so far other than Sam's question. If you have any questions, please type in your questions about bragging, excessive pride, and then oversharing issues. Now, with mother, there is another Pali word called mana. Actually, in Abhidhamma, we can see that these two are, you know, compared to two lions who are living in two dens. But mother is not, is actually is being talked separately from mana. So we assume that mana, when we talk about chetasikas, akusala chetasikas, only we can see uh, mother in some format, mana, but not the mother. So we believe mother is a part of mana because in mana, what people do is measure, they size up. They want to feel that I am either better than others, or I am similar to or equal to others, or I am, I would say, inferior to others. Right. So these are the three main measuring manas. So mother and mana, they both are really taking us to bragging. So we have to keep an eye on those two sides. Also, I want to share with you Sarambha and Papichata. Now, Sarambha means this is one of the, I guess, Upakhiles as we know in Majjhima Nikaya. Sarambha means that you want to emulate other people. That can take you to bragging. If you want to emulate others, definitely you want to brag about you. And also papichata. Papichata means you are trying to show things you don't have. I mean, this is one of the very fundamental thing about braggers. So, Dhamma folks, now you understand bragging has both pros and cons, advantages and disadvantages. But I wanted to tell that there is a least, there is the least level of bragging where you are not talking about you, but only when other people talk about your achievements, you're gonna provide verifications to what they talk about you. Other than that, never ever try to show off. But there may be some instances where you have to share, where you may be supposed to share because of this social desirability. You can do that, but always try to keep your glories to yourself. Become very a person of being very be a person of uh, humble, because being humble can take you to many things. But there may be places where you have to show off. I'm not show off, I would say verify what you have achieved. Other than that, don't try to waste your time to uh, show off. So with that in mind, we also talked about excessive pride that can arise when you are bragging about you. Because when you are too much bragging about you, then definitely you're going to have uh, you know thoughts about your achievements. Too much thoughts about, you might be spinning out a lot of thoughts about that. And then we also talked about how to fix this insecurity of oversharing. We are not supposed to overshare; just share is enough. But try to minimize that to yourself, because if you are going to overshare, that might not be a good thing too. Okay, so this is the kind of the background and the idea about bragging, pride, and the Buddhist idea of bragging. So I think it's clear to you. Any questions, dumb folks? We'll give you one more minute if you have any questions, so that you can post them in the comments below. I'll wait for that. I don't know, folks kind of like afraid to share what they think. Anyways, try to be humble. Try to know how people brag. If you want to find the least version, the most, I would say, minimal version of bragging, then that version is that version arises in you when you only verify what other people say about you. Other than that, never ever waste your time to prove who you are. Just keep doing your good things. You don't want to see that. I mean, I know, of course, when you are working in a kind of a workplace, you have feedback. You might expect that, but have a kind of a limit on all that. Don't ever. Don't keep trying too much on that. Don't keep trying hard on that thing. Just do your good things. Okay, folks. So I'm gonna share a transfer good karmas at this point. May all the good karmas we've been accumulating in today's Dhamma talk, especially the mental health awareness talk about bragging and how to stop bragging and how to practice, I would say, non-intoxication in Buddhist teachings, uh, be transferred to all the departed relatives who passed away in the name of all of us. May all the departed relatives who passed away in the name of all of us be able to receive all these good karmas. If they are in a bad state of realm, may they be able to switch over to a good place, good jati or bhava. Finally, may they be able to attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Idammi nyati nang hotu sukita huntu nyatiyu. Idammi nyati nang hotu sukita huntu nyatiyu. Idammi nyati nang hotu sukita huntu nyatiyu. We have a custom which we been doing. I mean, this is something that is happening traditionally in many Dhamma talks. We can actually share good karmas with the devas and nagas. May all the good karmas we've been accumulating in all these ways be shared by all the devas and nagas. May they protect and bless all of you for your parents, for your spouses, family members, kids, children, your relatives, everybody in this whole universe. May all you be protected by devas and nagas for good health, quality of your life, and all prosperity. May they also attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Ittavataj amihi sambatang punya sampadang. Sabbe deva anumodantu, sabbe bhuta anumodantu, sabbe satta anumodantu, sabbe sampatti siddhya. Akasattha च बुम्मट्ठा देवानागा महित्तिका पुण्यन्तं अनुमोदित्वा चिरं रक्षन्तु लोकशासनं चिरं रक्षन्तु देशनं चिरं रक्षन्तु मां परन्ति. Finally, let's make a great wish. May all the good karmas that we've been uh, accumulating in all these ways be helpful for all of us to attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. I'm going to bless you with a couple more stanzas. Please receive the blessings. Abhivadana siddhis nichang vadhapachayinu Chattaro dhamma vadhanti ayuvannu sukhang balang ayurarogya sampatti sagga sampatti mevacha ato nibbana sampatti iminati samijjato. Okay. Folks, have a good night and have a good day ahead of you for those folks who join from Asia. We have a couple more interviews coming up. I hope that one interview is scheduled next month, probably November 9th. We'll keep you updated, and there will be some other interviews also probably be scheduled before number 9. Stay tuned. Thank you. Have a good day.